Hello and welcome back to Fair Fight North Carolina with Scott Peoples. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and today we want to talk about something that got nationwide attention, and that was the state Supreme Court race in North Carolina. Needless to say, it was a combination of people standing up and doing the right thing with the wild, wild west. And so I'm going to turn it over to Scott to kind of not just explain what happened, but the ramifications of it, because they're significant. So Scott, can you tell people who may not be familiar with what happened in North Carolina, what exactly happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to also, just from a veteran's perspective and people that care about democracy, why this is so important. Yeah, so in the 2024 cycle, we had Jefferson Griffin versus Allison Riggs, and Allison Riggs, the Democratic nominee, won by a little over 700 votes. And Jefferson Griffin, just like Trump in 2020, refused to concede and tried every legal way or every way through the courts to try and overturn the election. Luckily, there was after 6 months, a federal court person that was nominated by President Trump actually, struck it down as not a path forward, and Allison Riggs was granted, winning the seat. But the ramifications and the damage that it did, I think, to our democracy in the state, if it's not squelched going forward, could be deep. So basically, Jefferson Griffin, who is an Army veteran, wanted to throw out military ballots of people that voted absentee. He, put that in his case, or about 5,500 military ballots from overseas that were only from majority districts that typically vote for Democrats from blue districts. So pretty easy to see what their scheme was. And the sad part was the appeals court and the state Supreme Court of North Carolina went along with his challenge, and if it weren't for the federal court, I'm pretty sure they would have done everything in their power to grant Jefferson Griffin the winner.
So to recap, the servicemen and women that claim and live in that area of North Carolina were the ones that were victimized by this. And for people who don't know, it's difficult, especially if you're deploying, to make sure you get your ballot in and count it in the military. It's not as easy as you think it would be. And so you have to go that extra mile to do it. And he targeted those votes in particular.
Yeah, he targeted those votes in particular. If those would have been overturned, he would have had enough to overturn the 734 that he was trailing by. And even though he voted that way in 2019 and 2020, I believe, it didn't matter to him. He, thirsts for power. So it's just a great example of, as we in Veterans for Responsible Leadership look for people in public service that put integrity first, put principles over power. He just got usurped by the thirst for raw power that he threw out everything his oath meant to him as being an Army captain. And it's really sad to see. It kind of sets us forward. I wanted to talk about going forward, just the importance of these races. The state Supreme Court, for anyone that's, whether left or right, if you care about democracy and fair maps and everyone's vote counting the same and everyone having equal access to the ballot box, I think these are the most important races. Justice Anita Earls in 2026, and then there'll be 3 Republican justices up in 2028. The North Carolina Democratic Party needs to be beating down the drum everywhere to talk about everyone that's running should also mention the race for Anita Earls, because it is the only chance for North Carolina, sadly, to get fair maps going into the new decade in the 2030s.
And can you talk a little bit about that, Scott? The gerrymandering in North Carolina, just how bad is it?
It's the worst in the state. I mean, the worst in the country. Literally, it's 50-50. It's the most purple state you can get. And the Republicans hold a supermajority in the state Senate and 1 vote shy of a supermajority in the state House. So the only thing Democrats can do right now is have the governor's seat and try to break the supermajority just so they can kill bad bills, which is what Josh Stein did a few this last week with permitless carry and things of that nature. But we have no hope of getting things that will further our public education or fair maps or anything of those natures. All we can do is beat down bad bills. So until we can get a fair Supreme Court that care about our democracy first, we're just going to be swimming uphill for decades to come. And with people with small kids who want them to have a fair democracy going into the future, this is the most important race.
And this is why we call it Fair Fight North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the beginning of things we'll be bringing to you. But make no mistake, what happens in North Carolina is a playbook for the rest of the country. We'll talk to you soon.